This video covers connecting chords in root position which have roots a fifth apart, a second apart, or a third apart. Exceptions of each of these will also be discussed. When two four-note chords are written in succession, the second one must follow the first in a specific manner. This is called voice leading. The manner will differ when the interval between the two roots of the two chords differs. In two adjacent chords in the 18th century, there are only 3 intervals used between the roots of the two chords. These are fifths, seconds, and thirds. The fourth, which is the inversion of the fifth, is used, but it is always considered a fifth in the opposite direction. Inversions of seconds and thirds, which are sevenths and sixths, are usually not used. There are 3 methods for connecting root position triads whose roots are a fifth apart. There is a 4th method, which is used in special situations. You will usually use one of the first 2 methods when part writing. The first method is to hold the common tone and move the other 2 voices to the nearest available position. Now, the nearest available position will be no more than a third away. Remember this. You will use the nearest available position in all chord connections. The second method is to move all 3 upper voices in the direction of the fifth or opposite to the fourth. Make sure that you move these voices no more than a third. Bach usually uses the third method in only 2 situations. We will talk about those situations later. In method 1, hold the common tone and move the other 2 voices to the nearest available position. Remember, the nearest available position is no more than a third away. First, look at the example whose roots are a descending fifth. After you hold the common tone G, you will move the other 2 voices to the nearest available positions. The B goes up to the C, and the D goes to the E. Notice that when you use this method, you don't have to worry about any parallels, fifths, or octaves. The next example has a descending fourth, C down to G, which is considered a fifth up. Because remember, a fourth down is really a fifth up. You have to know the direction of the fifth. Hold the common tone, which is G again, and move the other 2 voices to the nearest available positions, C down to B and E down to D. In method 2, move all the upper voices in the direction of the fifth, or opposite the fourth, to the nearest available position. Remember, the nearest available position is no more than a third from one voice to the next. Look at the first example. Since the fifth is going down, all 3 upper voices will move down to the nearest available position. So, D goes down to C, G goes down to E, B goes down to G. I suggest you actually say this in your head, D down to C, G down to E, and B down to G. The second example is a fifth up. Again, the C to the G is really a fourth down, but you go opposite the fourth when you're talking about the directions of the 3 upper voices. You might want to pencil in an upward arrow so you remember which direction you need to take the upper three voices. So the C will go to D, the E to G, and the G to B. Method 2 is always used in the minor key to avoid the augmented second. If you hold the common tone, you will always have an augmented second. So let's look at what to avoid. If you hold the common tone, and in this one it is the D, and you take the other voices to the nearest available positions, you have F to G and A flat to B natural. Now A flat to B natural is an augmented second. When part writing, you do not want to write an augmented second. So, to avoid that augmented second, you always use method 2. Remember, method 2 is go in the direction of the fifth. So, looking at this fifth, the fifth is down. So, all three voices will go down. The D will go down to the B natural, the F to the D, and the A flat to the G. In method 3, you again hold the common tone, but you move the third of the first chord to the third of the second chord. Now, Bach usually uses this in only two situations. When the thirds of each chord are in the soprano, like the first one, this creates a leap of a fourth. Usually this is a fourth up, although sometimes it's a fifth down, but that's rare. It's the only connection possible if the soprano is given. If you don't have a melodic line given, then you don't have to worry about it. The other reason that Bach would use it was if you were changing of position, open or close position. And that would be desired for range purposes. In method 4, the fifth is omitted in the tonic chord and the root is tripled. The reasons for this are a holdover from tradition a century before, and the second reason is for a certain resolution of the 5/7. We'll review this later when resolving 5/7 chords. When connecting chords with roots a second apart, the upper three voices move to the nearest available position in contrary motion to the bass. Look at the example. The bass goes up. So, all of the three voices will go down. The C will go down to B, the F down to D, and the A down to G. In the progression 5 to 6, and when the leading tone is in the soprano, the leading tone must ascend to the tonic, causing a doubled third in the sixth chord. This is often done in the deceptive cadence and is always done in all 5 to 6 progressions in minor to avoid the augmented second. So, this is the leading tone. It has to go up to the tonic. When it goes up to the tonic, you have the third of the chord doubled. Let's look at what to avoid in minor. If you use the given method where you go the upper three voices opposite the direction of the bass, so the upper three voices would go down, the B would go down to an A flat, the G to an E flat, and the D to a C. This is an augmented second. You avoid augmented seconds in voice leading. To get around that, you would take the B to the C, or the leading tone to the C, and double the third in the sixth chord. So 5 to 6 in minor, you must double the third in the sixth chord. When connecting chords with roots a third apart, we chain the two common tones and move the remaining voice to the only position left. First, you need to determine what the two common tones are. So we have a C, E, G chord and an A, C, E. So the common tones are the C and the E and the C and the E. The only other voice left is the G to the A. So, retain the two common tones and move the remaining voice to the only position left. There are several exceptions to this progression. 3 are generally found. When the melody that is given will not let you hold the common tones. Look at the first example. The common tones would be the C and the E. But if you have the soprano given and the C goes up to the E, then you can't hold the two common tones. So the C will go to the E and the E will go to the C. And you still take the G up to the A. When the two common tones can be held, but the remaining tone cannot go to the nearest available position because of the melody, then you take it to the third of the chord. So you have the two common tones, and then you take this to the third of the sixth chord. And the other reason is when a change of position, open to close, is needed. This also necessitates a doubled third in the second chord. These are not needed unless the melody is given. Let's go over these again. With fifth apart, there are 3 methods. The first one, hold the common tone and move the other voices to the nearest available positions. Method 2 is to move upper 3 voices in the direction of the fifth to the nearest available position. The third one, you hold the common tone and you move the third of the first chord to the third of the second chord. In seconds apart, this is one of the easiest ones, as well as the thirds apart. Move all the voices contrary to the bass. In thirds apart, hold the 2 common tones and move the other voice to the nearest available position. Remember, there are 2 exceptions you must use in the minor key. When 2 goes to 5 in the minor key, use method 2. Method 2 is the method where you go in the direction of the fifth. In the progression 5 to 6 in minor, you must double the third in the sixth chord. And why do we use these two exceptions? To avoid the augmented second interval.